An identity crisis can be many things. Losing your sense of purpose, a midlife crisis, returning to civilian life, or simply feeling like you don't belong. My life has been one ongoing identity crisis after another. I've started this podcast to help deal with my own demons and negative self-talk, and to ultimately and hopefully learn that I'm not alone, and that these thoughts and feelings aren't unique to me. So if this helps you too, then one by one we can come together, heal ourselves, and move forward with our goals and dreams with a sense of belief, happiness, and purpose. Hi, welcome to the Identity Crisis Podcast. I'm JNewtz, and my guest today is comedian Billy Cameron. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, Jay. How are you?
I am doing very, very well. It's always good to talk to another comedian because I know we always relate upon that level.
Yeah, it's always like speaking to just like any comedian, like when I'm seeing like on a gig or whatever, it's always very easy to talk to people like comedians because you're very similar, even though you've never met before.
Yeah, actually, you're right. And I tend to find that because we analyze so many things in life ourselves and situations, we're looking for like the flip side of a joke and where the punchline is. We tend to be very expressive and open people, and we tend to have interesting conversations on and off stage, don't we?
Yeah. There's been several times where I've just been talking to other comedians. It's like, I don't know, we'll talk about anything that's a bit of a shit situation, but making it funnier. Like even dying on stage, we all just laugh at it because it's like a rite of passage.
Well, that's right. It's how you earn your stripes, isn't it?
Yeah, most certainly.
So tell me, I suppose the question that I know I get all the time, so I'm going to ask the same question to you to start off with, is what got you into comedy? What was it that made you want to do stand-up?
I feel like just being like a lover of comedy anyway. From like a very young age, watching, I don't know, like the live shows of like Lee Evans. I think was probably the first comedian I got really into.
He's amazing, Lee Evans. It's such a shame that he's retired because he is incredible. Yeah,
I love Lee Evans. Like there's like sort of like Lee Evans, and then there's a couple of like Peter Kay and stuff that was like household names, so to speak, as for comedians. And obviously, like, growing up, I still liked comedy, so watching comedy TV shows and just watching more and more stand-up as I got older. I've always, like, been intrigued in doing it. Like, even in primary school, we had, like, a talent show, and I did a stand-up routine on that. But me being about 5 years old, I want to say, you don't really grasp how to do stand-up comedy.
No.
So I kind of just did random stuff that didn't make any sense, but everyone was laughing, so I was like, oh, I'm nailing this. So I think that must be like the first buzz I got from it. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to try it. But I think starting it now, I'm quite new to comedy, to be honest, like stand-up comedy. I've only been doing it, I'd say, about 3-4 months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I've started now is because I wanted to do it before, like earlier in my life. But one, I didn't think I had enough things to write about or like joke about. Because I prefer like writing about experiences I've had and seeing the funny side of that. So I didn't have like, I'd say, the life experiences, say, the older people would have. And I also didn't really know how to get into comedy, so to speak. Like I didn't know if you just show up somewhere and try it out. So there was a lot of things I needed to know. I wanted to know before I did it. And luckily I had a friend who's a stand-up comedian. He's helped me quite a lot, Lewis Robinson. So he's helped me quite a lot, like try and, where to look for gigs and how to kind of get a set going and stuff like that. So
it is always really good to have somebody else, not so much guide your hand as such, but just sort of having somebody that you can go to gigs with or be within the comedian circle with. it makes things so much easier because I remember my very first gig that I did about, 8 or 9 years ago, I was shitting myself like any comedian does for their first public performance. Yeah. But the good thing was the room was run by two friends of mine who I'd known for at least, 12 to 18 months, and at least I felt safe because I was around them. They were full of encouragement. And if it was just me doing my first show in a brand new room where I knew nobody, comedians and audience, it would have been the hardest thing to do.
Oh, 100%. Like you say, I was quite lucky as well with obviously knowing someone on my first gig. So my first ever gig I did, my friend who's comedian Lewis, he was doing the MC that night and managed to get me like a 5-minute spot. And then from there, just knowing people and meeting other comedians, I've, gained some good friendships with people and like it's expanded my knowledge of the local comedy scene near me in Leeds, and what nights are run by certain people, and everyone it is like I say, a bit more of a community, and everyone's just lovely. It's quite good.
The good thing about comedians, I mean, no one likes bombing, but you learn a lot from bombing. But when you're performing to other comedians, they never, unless they're arseholes, they never put you down. Like they'll always talk to you about what was good and they'll give you tips on how you can improve. But you'll never have comedians make you feel terrible for telling a joke that doesn't work on stage.
Yeah, 100%. I know there's been some people that have said that there's a couple of people that are a bit of an arsehole in general, but so far my interactions with any comedian, they've always been, welcoming and lovely. Like they've always, after I've done my set, they've always said, "Oh, it was brilliant," or "I thought it was great." So.
You can always, look, unfortunately, as you say, there are a few assholes out there, and happily, especially through my experience, you don't often meet them, but they do come up in the woodwork a few times. I remember there was one gig I had where I think I'd been doing stand-up for maybe 12 months by this stage.
Yeah.
And I got invited to do a room and I was still finding my voice, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but trying to find sort of what works for me, whether it was one-line jokes or storytelling or whatever it was, or even just the way that I interacted with the audience. And it wasn't going well, but the MC, who was a comedian in his own right, he decided to just say, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he was falling on the floor and rolling around as if he was in agony. And the whole audience was just looking at him in the pub. And, and he heckled me off stage. And, and literally, like, that made me give up performing comedy for about 3 years. I kept running comedy rooms and I just used to do all the teching, but that just destroyed my confidence in stand-up comedy. And when I came back, it took me a long time to get over it, but I'd reinvented myself in the process. I kind of found more of my style and my voice. But the thing is, that bad experience, it was such a bad thing for another comedian to do to a comedian that it put me off for such a long time.
Yeah. Like I've kind of gotten used to bombing a bit more. Not in the sense that I do it all the time, thankfully. But the sense like my first ever gig, I did really well. Everyone loved it. And then my second gig, I did the exact same set. I think it only been like a week or so after. But it was like an open mic which ran late into the night. And there was like 40 people that got up and did sets. And I was waiting until about 1:30 in the morning almost. I finally got up on stage and there was about 3 people that were all drunk. So I did my set and it obviously just fell on its ass. And then that kind of destroyed me. But like, so I kind of like moped around because the first time I bombed, I moped around a little bit for like a week. I was like, "Oh, I'm shocking. This is awful. I'm the worst." But after that week, and I did another gig, and I was completely fine. I'm actually all right. I didn't have to worry too much. But it's kind of like I feel like looking back here, I kind of had like the highs and lows like really quickly, like the duality of man, just one after the other. And I was like, if anything's in between them, I'm okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, in comedy, you do have your highs and you do get some incredible lows. Let's just quickly take the conversation back a little bit. You said that you've only been doing stand-up in clubs now, on the open mic circuit for about 3 or 4 months. What was the delay in getting into stand-up? As far as you said, you used to do it when you were a kid, you had a passion for it, but what stopped you? Was it a mental block? Was it just you didn't have the time in your life? What was it that made you have such a break before you got into it?
I think life just took over in general. Like it wasn't the forefront of my mind growing up. And when I was a bit younger, I was trying to deal with a lot of like other personal stuff with like my mum having a stroke and stuff like that, and kind of like getting a career off the ground, so to speak. So I was just trying to enjoy myself like a young like lad in his early 20s, just trying, going out, drinking with friends. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't straight rush into it. Like, say, if I was like a young 18-year-old doing comedy. Not that I'm saying there's no wrong with doing comedy at a young age. But for me personally, I feel like the experiences I've had and the stuff I've done in them years that I wasn't doing comedy has allowed me to like, obviously not do exactly the right thing in life, but I've now got material to write about, which I think is quite funny. So hopefully other people will find funny laughing at my misfortunes. But yeah, there's nothing really that actually kind of stopped me from doing it. I just didn't know where to do it and other stuff in the way, I guess.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing with comedy as well is because you're the writer, you're the performer, you're the producer of your own work. You don't know how it's going to go until you literally stand on stage and try and perform it. And then the way you perform it might work, but then another night the way you perform it might not work. And then you just have to say, well, how do I either change the script or how do I change my performance to make it funny? Because half the time it's not what you say that's funny, it's how you say it and how you perform it, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Like, because whenever I think of a funny joke or like something that I think is quite funny to write down and possibly try out, I'll always like take it to my girlfriend like a proud like child with a parent and be like, oh, I wrote a funny joke. So I'll say it to her, but I don't exactly perform it because I feel like it's weird if I performed it to my girlfriend like I would on stage. So I'll just say it and then I'll get like barely a laugh and I'm like, right, that's going in bin, it's shite. But then like I'll just like ignore that and she's like, oh, it's good, but it's not because I'm not performing it. And then I've wrote a couple where I've done it. I've wrote them down, put them in like a set, and I'm like, it sounds like an alright joke. And then I do it on stage and it absolutely kills. And I'm like, oh, it's got more laughs than I expected it to get. And like all the stuff in the set that's kind of like a lead up to a punchline gets more of a laugh than the punchline. But
so you're more of a storytelling comedian rather than more of a one-liner comedian?
Yeah. I just started writing stories and like putting like the jokes in the story. But like recently on like some open 5-minute sets, I've been trying out just different short jokes, which kind of working quite well. But I feel like they're harder to come up with than if you have a live story that you can make fun of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So with your stories, do you find that are you looking to the outside world and thinking of things that happen in daily life for anybody, or are you looking within yourself and experiences that you've had, say, for example, growing up in your school life or dating life or whatever it might be? Are you sort of making fun of yourself while sort of dealing with anything from the past, or are you just observing life in general and making jokes about that?
I guess a bit of both. I think mainly it's more self like experiences. Like I guess like my previous sets that I've wrote down and performed is like about me being bisexual, like coming to terms with bisexuality in like the past few years. But tying that in with me having a colonoscopy like in the past year as well. So kind of like making not fun of obviously bisexuality, but making fun of myself in the way that how I feel about my own sexuality and tying it with a bad experience I had with a colonoscopy. Yeah. But there's all sorts of stuff that I've kind of like joked about which relate to my life, which I feel like looking back or like looking retrospectively, if I kind of need to narrow it down a bit more, or like not narrow it down, but dumb it down more for the audience that don't know personal stuff about me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's harder for the audience to grasp. But yeah.
I mean, building relatability can be a hard thing because, I mean, I was in Melbourne, Australia a few months ago for the International Comedy Festival over there, and I did my very first solo show, which was the most personal material I've ever done. And I didn't expect the audience to fully understand what I'd done through my life or experiences I'd had or conditions I've gone through. I mean, for example, I'm dyslexic. I've got a form of Asperger's, and I've recently found out I've probably got a bit of ADHD as well. But I never expected the audience to fully understand that. But at the end of the whole thing, what I did find was that when you're being truthful and people can see that you can openly talk and joke about yourself, it makes them feel like they're laughing with you, but it also makes them feel comfortable within themselves to come to terms with something that they may be going through, that they've sort of put into a dark space where they're ignoring a condition they've got or being bisexual or gay or whatever the situation may be. So it's cathartic for you, but it's also healing for the audience.
Oh, 100%. Like I try and joke about this stuff that I've gone through, that I think is a funny like instance that I've gone through, and hopefully other people will find it funny as well. Because there's like the stories that I tell on stage are pretty much I've told to my friends constantly, or people like friends of friends, and they've always found it hilarious, like the way I say it. So it's just basically doing that on stage with more added punchlines and jokes for other people to get. So
absolutely. Now, tell me, you mentioned before that you're bisexual. What was that? Obviously, you say that nice and loud and proud now, which I think is amazing, and more people need to do that. But when you were sort of coming to terms with that, and you were discovering that you were bisexual, what was that journey like, as far as you as a man? Because let's face it, even though we live in a world these days where people are encouraged to express themselves and be open with their sexuality and so forth, men typically and historically are very much, no, you're a man and boys don't cry and you have to look like this and wear this and so forth. What was that? What was it like? What was it like for you, accepting your bisexuality and then coming to terms with it and then reaching out to the world with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually like thought of it, like how I came to terms with it yet. But like, I guess always when I was a bit of a younger adult, I guess in my 20s, I still say younger, but I'm only like 27. But I mean like younger, like freshly 18, stuff like that. But when I was like younger, I did like kiss men quite a lot, like on nights out drunkenly. I didn't think of it. I just thought it's a bit of fun, no harm done. But like as I've gotten older, I've realised that I do like men as well as women. But I realised that's why I got a bit confused. I was like, do I like men enough to be bi? I don't know, because like I like women way more. And then I realised obviously sexuality is more of a spectrum. It's not black and white. So that helped me understand it quite a lot. And then meeting my partner, who I'm with currently, she's also bisexual. So like meeting her,
you lucky bastard.
Yeah, so it kind of helped a lot as well in that respect. So I think that's literally it. Yeah.
It's interesting. You made an interesting point there about sexuality. It's a spectrum. It's not black and white. I mean, I've got a trans member of my family, and she transitioned 15, 17 years ago. And when I got a chance to have a talk with her about the whole transition, because she was sort of halfway through the journey at that particular stage, she was saying to me that, look, I'd always grew up feeling different, and when she was 9 or 10, she felt that she was different, and she was like, well, am I attracted to boys? Am I attracted to girls? What do I want? And she's sort of spent the rest of her life, I guess, sort of secretly experimenting, and she realized, look, I'm not gay, I'm actually heterosexual as such, but she couldn't work it out. And it was only through going through a marriage and kids and then a divorce and then, doing some self-exploration that she came to the realization that I actually think that I'm trans and I'm more of a woman. And when she met her wife, who they're still married to this day, she openly said to this woman, listen, this is how I feel and so forth. And she got the most amazing support from this lady. They're still together to this day. But it was just interesting to hear that story of just always feeling something, but not really knowing what it was. And it took many years, in fact, several decades of, exploration, but then hiding it away, thinking, no, I'm a man. I can't, this isn't the way men are meant to be. And so forth.
Yeah.
So people's journeys are very different. So, but as you say, it's not black and white. It's so fluid, and I suppose that's sort of where the whole gender fluidity thing comes from, and sexual fluidity as well, because you can't put people in a box going, no, you're this gender, which means you like this and you don't like this. It is these days more about, well, you're attracted to some things more than others, and you like what you like, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, most of my family thought I was gay for a long time, so they knew before I did, really. But I never understood why. I was like, yeah, I'm a little fruity in the way I act, not overly camp, but I guess growing up in a household full of women and no male role models kind of does that to you, I guess.
That's interesting. I mean, what's that like? Because I mean, look, I've got a brother. I haven't got any sisters, and whilst I got cousins, two of which are women, we didn't really see them very much. I didn't grow up with them, so I've come from a family of just a brother and then lots of male friends. So, what is it like, to grow up in a family of predominantly women?
I guess I don't know. You just see how much women do. I guess I feel like, because I grew up with my mum and three sisters, and then barely seen my dad. He's seen every other weekend, but I didn't really like to go and see him. But seeing how much not only my mum, but mainly my sisters did for me growing up, you realise women do a lot of shit. The maternal feelings they have, obviously for siblings and families. Yeah, it's quite good. It obviously shapes me to the person who I am today, and I wouldn't be who I am without them. But yeah, I've got a lot of credit for them women. So
and they're very supportive as well, very emotional. And I mean, look, I've been lucky. I've always had lots of female friends in my life. I've done acting class where there's been 2-3 guys and 10 women, or I've just naturally gravitated to women and I've become friends with women a lot more. And so I understand completely what you do say, because when you've got that sort of emotional connection with them as such, or you sort of see how they operate within themselves as their own little group or whatever it might be, they are so open and accepting, apart from when they want to be bitchy. Whereas men in some ways are very black and white. They're either, yeah, we like you, or nah, fuck off because we don't. Whereas women can hide the bitchiness, but they're usually, as you say, they're very supportive, very generous, very kind and compassionate. And men, if they weren't so ignorant half the time, could really learn a lot, couldn't they?
Oh, 100%. I feel like that's the way, they've molded me. I can't think of the right word for it, but not the ethos, but how I act and how I am in day-to-day life is probably come from them, making me not just stuck up and quite accepting to everyone. And that's pretty much most women have done that in my life. Just molded me to the person I am today. So.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It really is, man. Tell me, did you have any struggles with other guys, putting you down at all, either having lots of women in your life, or accepting your sexuality, or coming out to the world? Have you ever done a gig or anything where people have basically been bigots or arseholes to you because of your sexuality?
No, because I think it's only been the past couple of years really that I've come to terms that I'm bisexual, and my male friends are all fine. My male friends are the ideal male friends you want. They're accepting everything, love them to death. So they're yeah, no, it's changed, which is what you want in a reaction. But other than that, I don't really get any. I'd say, luckily, I've not had any hate on it yet. But I feel if I did, I'd probably know how to handle it. Not with fighting. God, I'm 5'6" in the tab end, but yeah, I think I'd know how to deal with it quite, I don't know, I don't know the word for it, civilly, I guess.
Do you think that you would fight fire with funny? And by that, what I basically mean is if somebody wants to yell at you as such or intimidate you, would you want to not make a joke about it, but just treat it more lightheartedly to diffuse the situation rather than go down to the aggression side of things?
Oh, 100%. Like, I feel like I can be a bit of a cunt sometimes, though, in terms of like egging it on. So there's been times where I've been out drinking and someone's been like arsey, and I've kind of just wound them up more just by having a laugh. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything, and then they get kicked out, and it's all good laughs. But yeah.
Oh, that's so you know the perfect art form just to piss them off enough so they really get shitty with you, but you're the one who gets away with it. I love that so much. Yeah. That's an art form. That is. I feel like someone in like Game of Thrones, like Littlefinger, just like, hey, it's not me. Oh, it's brilliant. That's brilliant. Do you bring this sort of this playfulness, this, let's say, this bitchy cuntiness, do you bring that into your stage persona? Have you found your stage voice just yet, or are you still working on your stage presence as a comedian?
My stage presence, I'm still working on it. I feel like I have it outside of the on stage, but putting it on stage, I feel like I'm still at the nervous stage about getting up there and what I'm doing. I feel like my material as well at the moment doesn't bring it out as much. Although I feel like I could probably change it up and add a bit more of it in, because I feel like that would add to it.
So do you feel that you sort of hold yourself back as far as what you want to talk about compared to what you think people want to hear?
Not necessarily. I feel like currently when I've been, because before I did my first show, I wrote like a lot of material about like the stories of my life and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's a wise thing to do. Maybe it is, but I write stuff that I think is funny rather than what I think other people would find funny. Because I feel like if it's not going to make me laugh, then I'm not going to enjoy telling the joke or telling the story. So I feel like there's nothing holding me back really of like what I want to say. But I feel like there's kind of ways I want to go about saying it to make it funnier. And I've just not found the right way to do it, so to speak.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because some comedians can find their voice and their style so quickly, like they've just naturally got it, do you know what I mean? Whereas other people, and I include myself into this, it can take you such a long time to find it. I mean, with me, many years ago, I created my brand JNewtz, and I gave myself a certain look with makeup and blue hair and tartan trousers and all this type of stuff. Number one, because I wanted to express myself on the outside how I felt on the inside, and the other thing was I wanted to be memorable, because if you're doing, a 5-minute set with 12 other comedians, I didn't care if I wasn't the funniest, but I just wanted people to remember the guy in the tartan trousers. It wasn't about being the funniest; it was about being memorable. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very much like you. I write stuff which I think is funny, because if you aim to please people, and I started doing this, what I found is I was walking off stage, people were laughing, and I just felt shit and empty, because it's like, well, that wasn't me, there was just something within me that just didn't feel right, and it was because I was focused on what I felt the audience wanted rather than finding my own style. But even to this day, through performing, I mean, I know how to write my stories, I know how to write my jokes, I know how to work a crowd, but I'm trying to find my perfect way of performing, whereas other comedians, they just go out there and they've just got this amazing presence and this amazing voice and just the actions, and you go, you lucky fucking bastard. How did you get that? Because I'm still, after all these years, still working on that.
Yeah. It's one of them things where you do, I guess like you were saying before, like a bit of almost imposter syndrome, where you on like a gig with a few comedians, and you see, like for me personally, you've got to have that kind of vainness in yourself to believe your own bullshit, and think you are the dog's bollocks no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So you'll be like watching if a couple of comedians are on before you. You could be watching like, yeah, that's funny, but I think my material's funnier. And then you'll get one person that goes up and you're like, yeah, I'm a fraud. Why am I even here? But it's just that, like, that's the flip side of being a comedian. It's like, you've got to think you're the best there is, the best there was, the best there'll ever be. And then there's always one person that's better, no matter what, when you see them live.
Yeah, and do you find that when you see that person who's better, that you straight away go into the headspace of, well, I'm shit, I can't do this? Or do you just go, well, that's just their level and I'm still building on mine?
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm bad, so to speak. I think the only thing that makes me feel like I'm not doing good is if I've had a bad gig or if, a couple of jokes don't land or whatever. Because that's on me, that's not on whoever I'm watching, so to speak. Like, if I see someone that's way better than me and is absolutely killing it, like, I'm watching that show as a punter, so to speak. Because I know a lot of people said this when I was starting. It was like, if you do a gig and there's other comedians, don't be surprised if the comedians aren't laughing because they're looking after they're going through their own material, or they're, kind of listening to what the comedian's saying and being like, oh, that's funny, but I'm working on my own stuff. Whereas if I'm at a gig, I'm probably the one laughing the loudest because I just love watching comedy. So it's probably why I forget some of my jokes most of the time. But
it's interesting because comedians are the most supportive, but also the most selfish because you'll sit there and they won't fucking laugh, but then they go, oh, great gig. And you go, really? Well, you didn't fucking laugh. Oh, no, man, it was funny. I was just focusing. I was waiting on my turn, or I was just remembering what I did before you went up. And you go, well, that's great, but I laughed at your set, fuckface.
Yeah, it is one of them things, like, I feel like I'm almost there as like a fan and just doing be lucky to do like 5 minutes. And it's like, I shouldn't feel like that in a way. I'm getting booked to do the gig. I'm there for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me, have you, in the time you've been doing stand-up, have you had anything that you would classify so far as your worst gig?
Probably my second one, like I say, when it was the whole night in total, the night of like the show was brilliant. Like, I couldn't fault it. But it did go on too long, which the showrunners have like now rectified. But like I say, like, I was there from, I'd say, when it started at like 8 p.m. And everyone's names was just in like bowls, like a bucket, just to be pulled out whenever, you go on.
Oh, yeah.
So I was waiting hours and hours until 1:30 when my name finally got pulled out. By this time, I'm probably like 6 or 7 beers deep because I'm in a pub. Mm-hmm. I'm there 5 hours or however long it was. Of course, I'm going to have a few drinks. So I was already a bit half cut. And then I get up on stage. There's barely anyone left because it's 1:30 in the morning. The pub's shutting in like half an hour. Everyone's absolutely blitzed. And then just trying to do my material when no one is there is so hard because you don't get that instant feedback, whether it's going good, whether it's going bad. You just get nothing. And yeah, coming off that, I was like, why did I wait this long to go up? And it's just like, looking back at it, it was a bad gig because no one was there when I went up.
Yeah.
But it was more the setting and the time I went up rather than my set actually being bad. But I've come to, acknowledge that. But I think that is the only worst gig I've had. And there's been other bad ones. And there's another like gong show I did, which they had some like technical difficulties with the microphone. So we have to do it a cappella, which is a new thing to try in a bar. And everyone there just wasn't interested in the comedy, even though they bought tickets, which baffles my brain. Like, why would you buy tickets to a comedy show if you don't like comedy?
Oh, look, trust me, it happens. We had that happen a few years ago. 2 years ago, we did our comedy festival show in Melbourne, and two of the guys came in, and they just decided to just talk through the whole thing. They're like, yeah, well, we've spent our money, but who gives a fuck? We'll just talk, and completely not giving a shit about the other 45 or 50 people in the audience who are actually there to watch and be entertained. They were just like, fuck it. You know, they, for whatever reason, they decided, well, we're not enjoying it right now, so we'll just talk. Rather than getting up and leaving or just going out to the bar and staying out there until they've heard something laughing and go, oh, let's just try this again. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of disrespect from an audience point of view in comedy, especially if it's somebody that's unknown, because they don't know if it's your first gig or your 100th gig.
Oh,
you know, if you're somebody like Jimmy Carr, for example, there's no way in hell that people would go in there and disrespect Jimmy Carr by talking in front of him. And if they did, Jimmy would put them down straight away and make them the brunt of the joke and just shut up. But there's a whole bunch of there's manners that just aren't there when it comes to, you know, unknown performers, not just comedians, but performers, and that could be public speakers, musicians, you know, comedians. You either get a good audience or you get a few, and it's never the whole audience, just a few assholes that just go, oh, fuck it, I'll just talk over you. And that it spoils it for you, it spoils it for everybody else.
Oh, 100%. There's been loads of times where people just feel entitled because they think they can talk and just keep going. And it's, even if they get told multiple times during the night that not to heckle. Because like, there's a couple of shows that I've done where the MC has said happily heckle them, but don't heckle the actual comedians. And it does the complete opposite. They heckle the comedians and not the MC. And it's like, what is the point? But here's what it is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? I mean, I suppose it's human nature. If you say, no, hey, don't touch that because it's wet, somebody will touch it.
to be fair, that's probably me. Like, I'm the one where it's like, don't touch this thing on display. And I'm like, I'm going to touch it then.
So tell me, like, obviously you said your second gig was probably your worst gig to date. For anybody who's listening who's not a comedian or not a performer in any way, talk to me about your thought process and how you felt on the drive home. Like, because there's a lot of people who would just go to a pub and see somebody perform and go, oh, that wasn't their best night or whatever. But then that's it, because for them, that's not them on stage. How do you feel getting off stage, going home and getting into bed? What are the thoughts that go through your mind as far as that was a shit gig?
So I feel like luckily it was quite late at night. So as soon as I did it, I just got straight off. Because there was still some other comedians, even though it was like 1:30 in the morning, there were still other comedians waiting to go and like perform. And like, I wish I'm one of them people where if I'm at a gig, and even if I'm on first, if I'm on last, I'll always try and stay to the end of the gig to watch everyone. It's just something I want to try to do. But like, luckily on that night when I had my bad gig, there was not many people left, and I was like, I just need to get out of here because my headspace is not well. So I just got in a taxi and went home. But like I say, luckily it was like 1:30 in the morning, so I just got in, went to bed straight away and fell asleep. And then when I woke up, I was kind of like dwelling on it and like laid in bed a bit, a bit depressed about it. I was like, oh, what a shit night that was. And I just didn't want to get out of bed for like a couple of days. I managed to get myself out of bed begrudgingly, but it's one of them things where you just wanted to. It's kind of, I guess, the only thing I could relate it to for people that haven't done comedy or don't want to do comedy, but it's like if you do something embarrassing in front of people and you just want like the world to swallow you up. I feel like that's how I felt at the time. It's just you just don't want to be seen. You want to be hidden away. And then that's it. But
it's like asking a girl out and she says no, but she says it in front of all of her friends, and then you have that walk of shame that you feel for the next few weeks. Oh, they're looking at me, they're thinking, ha ha, you asked her out and she said no.
Yeah, 100%, exactly the same thing. It's like, well, why do I even bother? Why do I even try? And then you feel like shite for the rest of God knows how long.
Yeah.
But you do come out of it in the end, and you feel like, what was I even worried about? Because you'll go on to have another gig and you'll be like, oh, I'm smashing it. I'm the dog's bollocks again, and it's gone.
This is why they call it the joke coke, because when you're on a high, you go, I can do this every night. I can do this 4 times a night. But then you have a really bad night and you think, fuck this, I'm not going to bother with stage again.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of slowly come into terms with seeing the funny side of like a shit show. Like there was one I did not too long ago in like a pub in Sheffield, whilst the football was on, and they turned off the football on like the screens, apart from right at the back of the pub where it was still clearly on and people was watching it. So like halfway through your sets, you just hear massive shouts and celebrations when a goal went in.
Oh, God.
And it kind of interrupted a lot of people, like including me, like from your set. And it's like you've got to kind of, there's either 2 things to do. You can not acknowledge it and try and carry on, or you can kind of acknowledge it and work it into your set and make fun of the shit surroundings. It's just one of them things. But like I said, with it just being overall not like a smooth running gig, I kind of find the funny side of it. Like the one with where the mics broke, so we had to do it a cappella, and no one was there for the comedy. And I was like, this is brilliant. That it's just, going down the Swanee this bad, but I made the most of it. I did my set, cringed a little bit from the environment, but I think that's part and parcel of it.
Well, it is. I mean, ironically, you learn more from a bad set than you do from a good set, because if you have a good show, then you're thinking that couldn't have gone any better because they laughed, they loved it, I loved it, I've smashed it. But if something goes wrong, it forces you to go, well, was it my jokes? Was it the way I performed on stage? Was it just the audience? Like, what was it? And it forces you to be analytical. And if you don't analyze anything, even in business, if you don't analyze anything and try to learn from it, there's no growth.
Yeah, 100%. Like one of the first tips I got told by my mate when I first started was film everything, no matter what. Like every gig I do, film it, because then you can look back from obviously a different point of view of what was good, like what joke landed, what didn't, what needs changing, how people reacted. And you do, like, I've looked back at ones that have been bad, and I'm like, it wasn't necessarily bad because like some of my jokes was landing, like the laughed at the jokes. It's just there was hecklers and other like surrounding stuff which affected the smoothness of the gig, I'd say. Yeah, I feel like hecklers is like one of my things I need to work on most. I've not really got around to quick wit putting them down yet. I feel a bit too mean.
You almost need to have a few pre-written lines in the background. One of my friends, his favorite one that he defaults to all the time is, "Yeah, I remember my first drink as well," and he'll lead with that because it takes him a bit longer to think of something about the situation he's been thrown in. Actually, I'll tell you something that happened to me at my last festival show. I was talking about, I can't remember what the hell I was talking about actually on stage at this particular time, but this woman talks about, that's right, I was saying, I'm British because I got fair skin, I'm entitled, and I got a small penis. And this woman in the audience, whilst everyone else is laughing, she says, well, my dad was a pom and he had a huge cock. You could see it through his shorts. And I was like, what the fuck do I do with that? And after about 3 seconds after the shell shock wore off, I just said, how was it that you got to see the size of your dad's cock? And suddenly I took it from that and turned the whole thing around. But I was like, what do I do with that?
Yeah, there's been ones where they've shouted at me. Like I was making like some jokes about like my dad being born on Christmas and how like comparing him and Jesus, and like doing like a whole skit about Jesus. And then this woman in the crowd just points at, like, I think her son, and just said, "He's an Arab." And I was like, I was stumped. I was like, I don't know how to react to that. I was like, there's nothing else to go off, because it didn't really relate to what I was saying.
Do you know what? The first thing that came to my mind, and it's easy in hindsight, you get thrown a curveball going, "My son's an Arab." The first thing that I think of is you could have said, "Well, shalom." Now, it makes no sense, but at the same time, neither did her fucking comment.
Yeah. I feel like I need to, like, work on even just saying something stupid to, like, make fun of it. I need to work on that, because all I said was "nice one," and then just moved on. And I was like, I don't know how to go from there, but it's all a learning process.
Look, it definitely is. It definitely is. So tell me, I mean, look, you've been doing this for 4 months. Where do you see your journey in comedy going? Do you have plans of actually, being a professional one day, or a semi-pro, or is this just something that you're exploring as a hobby? What's sort of the current goal with comedy?
I mean, currently it's just a hobby, like a side thing. I'm not really getting any money from it, which I don't mind. I'm just doing it for the love of it, the fun of it. But I wouldn't mind it being like, I'd love for it to be like a full-time job, like touring and doing shows, doing like more podcasts like this and stuff like that. Because I feel like it's just a fun thing to do, and to have it as a job, I feel like, if you have a job you enjoy, it's not really a job. So I feel like that's where I want to be. But like I say, if I don't make it as like a full-time professional, I'm still happy with whatever level I get to, as long as, like, I'm getting laughs. I'm happy, really.
So basically, like, comedy is just something that just it just soothes your soul. It's just something that you need to do for yourself, to make you happy, irrespective of whether it goes anywhere or not. It's just something that your soul has to do.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I kind of see it as like a weird type of therapy that I don't have to pay for. I'm like telling my, like, grievances, or making light of stuff out of me, and I'm like fine with that. But in the other sense, is like, because even though it's like a bit of like therapy, like, before I actually started doing stand up, I was in like a massive rut of, I had no drive. I mean, I don't know if you work from home as well. I don't know how you feel similar, but like, if you're at home constantly, even when working, you don't have as much of a drive to do anything. I feel that might have been me personally, but I lacked like any passion for anything, and I felt a bit at a dead end. And then as soon as I started doing comedy, like, I had something to focus on, something to, take my mind off things. And it helped quite a lot. Like, one of my sisters came and watched one of my shows, or one of my sets that I did. And she said that she saw like a massive difference in me, like, mood wise, and how happy I was, and like, even just healthy looking. So yeah, I feel like it's something I need in my life.
Look, nobody can deny that doing comedy on stage over time really, really builds your confidence. I mean, like, you could be somebody who is socially awkward or introverted, or you just, not comfortable with public speaking. But then after a while, it really is amazing how people can see it before you can see it, where they go, wow, like, you held that room, the audience were just in the palm of your hand, and look how confident you are. Yeah. It can be such a, as you say, it's free therapy, isn't it? But it's amazing how much it can really help your own mental health.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think even just getting out of the house, like I say, I work every day from home, so I'm not going anywhere every day. I'm literally inside 24/7 for a week. But going out and just seeing other comedians, seeing friends, like, most weeks, it does help quite a lot. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me, as far as comedy styles go, who are some of your favorite comedians that you look up to and aspire to, or that you just enjoy watching and listening to?
So currently, I like Dan Nightingale and Adam Rowe. Then there's Daniel Sloss. He's a big one.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah, I love Daniel Sloss. Bo Burnham, obviously, he's quality.
Bill Burr, did you say?
No, Bo Burnham.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to I'm always bad with names when I get put on the spot, like to name stuff. Jamie Hutchinson and stuff. A lot of them are just mainly like UK-based comedians. But I feel like that's what I've gone into. Like, obviously, when I was younger, you just had access to like more mainstream comedians because they were on telly and stuff like that. Which I still like big mainstream comedians, don't get me wrong. But I do like the more, I'd say club comedians, I'd say. That I think are just funny and relate to me more like as I am now.
I guess the thing with mainstream comedians, especially the ones who are on, BBC, ITV and Netflix and so forth, especially more, regional channels rather than Netflix, is because they are mainstream, they have to have a mainstream message. They need to be a bit more clean. And look, you got people like Bill Burr and Jimmy Carr, Ricky Gervais, you wouldn't classify them as clean, even though they are a version of mainstream. But you look at Michael McIntyre, for example, very clean, very mainstream, but also incredibly funny despite that. But then you look at other people who are in the clubs who people may never have heard of before, and you go, my God, that's filthy as fuck, but it's just hilarious.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm kind of envious of is like anyone that could do clean material and be hilarious, because I swear like a sailor most of the time, but like I think it'd be hard for me to do a set and not swear or not include anything vulgar and filthy, because it's not me. But if people that can do it and make it funny, fair enough. Hats off. I think it takes more skill.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Do you find that when you're nervous, whether that be consciously or unconsciously, that you actually swear more on stage? Because I know that I'm guilty of that.
I think so, yeah. But I do generally just swear quite a lot, like day to day by accident, like subconsciously, which I guess is a bad thing, but growing up in a household where that's normal, it just kind of ingrains itself into you. I got told off a lot at jobs. Just speaking or speak, but
I love that. Love that. It's like, Billy, you can't talk to the people in drive-through like that.
It's like, I want you on a fucking burger. I'll give him a fucking burger.
He wants a fucking Big Mac.
That was good. That was good.
Nah, give the cunt a fucking cheeseburger and say we're out of Big Macs. Tell me, I mean, look, I love watching a lot of comedy too, whether that be, comedy shows such as like Black Books, Blackadder, whatever. I love watching stand-up. Do you feel that the more you watch other comedians, especially stand-up comedians, do you feel or have you noticed that when you're on stage, you are somewhat consciously or unconsciously emulating part of their performance? Because I know with me, for a long time, people used to say to me, all right, Jimmy, because it'd be a way that I'd tell my punchlines, even though I do stories, where it would sound like Jimmy Carr. And that's only because I watched him so much. I idolized him a lot. I still love the guy. I think he's amazing. But people would go, all right, Jimmy. And it took me a long time to break away from that. Do you find that you can have the same thing?
I mean, I've got to laugh like Jimmy Carr. Like, if I'm proper belly laughing, everyone says it sounds like Jimmy Carr. So that's one thing, I guess. But I feel like on stage, maybe other people might see it more than me, but I don't feel like I do currently. But in like my day-to-day life, I probably quote a lot of, like you say, comedy TV shows and other comedians just quite a lot. But I wouldn't probably just say it on stage or like, I don't know, act that way, because I feel like it's copying, so to speak. But I don't know. It's a bit of a hard question to answer. I don't feel like I do, but I might be wrong.
I guess it comes down to, as we said earlier on, when you're sort of finding your voice and your style, sometimes you can default to copying somebody's style to sort of see if it fits right for you. But then you may end up you could find that in 12 months' time, your style, the style that is Billy Cameron, is, 70% of you, but then 10% of one of your closest friends and 3%, a comedian that you admire, or whatever the case may be, where you've taken different aspects of people. Because let's face it, when you're up on stage performing, whether it be, acting, comedy, singing, whatever, you're not just yourself, you're an alter ego version of yourself. Because if everyone went up on stage and just performed as themselves, whilst it would be enjoyable, it's not entertaining. So you need to be a heightened version of yourself, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I feel like that's one thing I need to, I'm still coming to terms with, is to like amplify myself, to 11. Because there is times where I just go on stage, do my set, like kind of how I am and how I say it to like my friends normally, which they find funny. So I'm like, oh, that's fine. But maybe if I had like, I don't know, voices or more actions in and stuff like that, it's, take to the next level. So that's one thing that I'm kind of learning.
I must admit, I do get very jealous with people who have got lovely accents, because I often say that I need to work very hard to get laughs, because the material is one thing, but then, there are comedians out there who they've just got this natural voice where you just go, it's hilarious. And the person I always use it as an example of that is Billy Connolly, because I could write a joke and I need to work out, how do I find the funniest way of telling and performing this joke? And yet Billy Connolly could say the same thing and it would get stitches, and all he'd just be doing is reading it, going, I was walking down the street one day, having a beige fucking stroll down the street, where this fucking pigeon took a crap on my head. And I thought, what the fuck is that? And see, you're already laughing, right? But the thing is, if I said, I was just walking down the street the other day and the pigeon took a crap on my head, they'd be like, yep, and? So some people are blessed with wonderful voices for storytelling. Other people have to work really hard for it.
Yeah, I think there's like certain accents that just make any joke sound funny, like Scousers, I think Geordies. And I mean, to an extent, I would say like some Australians as well. Like there's a few Australian comics that anything they'll say, I'm in stitches. I think it's just the way they say it.
Who like, are you thinking Jim Jeffries sort of style, or?
I've forgotten his name. I'm not going to lie. What is he called? I've forgotten the name, but there's a couple of Australians that I've watched that just like the accent makes anything they say 10 times funnier. I think it's like more the Bogan accent, I guess.
Definitely, yeah. If they've got that really sort of nasal, oh yeah, mate, what the fuck you talking about? Yeah. What, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that type of accent where it just cracks me up every time.
Do you know what? My girlfriend's got a broader Australian accent, and we were in York a few years ago at a Christmas market, and this sort of personifies my take on the Australian accent, because she was sort of complaining about the crowds, and this person next to me turned to his wife and he went, "Oh, that woman's voice is so abrasive." I tried my hardest not to laugh because I didn't want to upset my girlfriend. I was like, but it's so true. It's so true. And the Bogan accent in Australia is, it can get to that spot just at the back of your teeth and right under your ears and go, oh, it's horrible. But as you say, sometimes if it works in comedy, it works. I mean, Carl Barnard, I think, is one Australian comedian. He's got that very, nah. But he's got that persona and it works for him. Jim Jeffries, he's very rough around the edges, but it works for him. But then there's other people where it doesn't work so much. So I think once again, it comes down to not just the accent, but how it's performed and the material and the stage presence. It really is that entire package as a comedian, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't just have like one thing. You've got to have kind of be a jack of all trades, really, and, do everything to take it to the next level.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like it's a never-ending journey, and hopefully it's always fun in the process.
Oh, 100%.
So tell me, wrapping this up now, what is the rest of 2024 hold for you? What are any sort of goals that you've got as far as comedy is concerned? Did you want to, double the amount of gigs that you do? Did you want to pursue like some form of, video content like sketch comedy? What are your goals for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so, I mean, since I've started in like the past few months, I've been getting more and more gigs, like, which is great. Like I think I'm having the most this week I've done in a week, which is like 3 or 4, which is unreal.
Fantastic.
So I kind of want to just kind of keep that momentum going and try and do just as much as I can possibly without burning out. Just to kind of keep the momentum and keep growing and getting better. So I'd say probably at least keep trying to do a gig a week, unless like I'm taking a week off to spend it on holiday or whatever. I also want to post like more clips on social media and be more active on the socials, because I did create like when I started comedy, I did create like new Instagrams and Twitters and all that stuff. And I've kind of not done anything with it because I'm quite bad on social media, to be honest. So I think that's one key area I need to focus on is my socials. And also, I guess another last bit is just try to make friends as much as possible, and also go to different locations that I've not been to before or gigged in. So try and, go up and down the country a bit more, see the world.
Yeah, that sounds like a really, really good rest of the year, to be honest. I think you've got a really good outlook on that one. Last question for you, Billy, before we wrap up. Mm-hmm. What is your advice, still as a fresh comedian, what is your advice to anybody else who is thinking of getting into comedy but might be thinking, it's embarrassing, I can't do it, I'm not funny enough? If they've got that imposter syndrome playing on their mind, or if there's something that's preventing them from taking that step onto the stage to have a try, what would your advice be?
Just do it, I guess. Like, I heard one comedian, like, if you think your material, if you wrote material and you think it's funny, like, and you've given it, I'd say give some other people, like, close, it a read or perform it to them, and see how it goes, see if they think it's funny, which they probably will, because if you think it's funny, it probably is funny. And then just go and do it. Like, every bit of comedy is different. There's various styles, various ways of doing comedy. I heard one comedian say that comedy is a vast tapestry, which I couldn't agree with more. There's like I said, there's various ways of doing it. Just go and do it and do your best. Everyone you meet, comedians and promoters will, be like the best buds with you and try and build you up and help you. So you're not alone in starting out. You will find people that are similar.
I think that's really good advice. It really is, because, whilst comedians are solo performers mostly, as you say, you're definitely not alone. And I think that anybody who wants to get into comedy, it's definitely something that they're going to enjoy when they get into the scene. Look, Billy, Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to have you here on the Identity Crisis podcast, and hopefully we get to gig together sometime.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to.
We'll have to organise it. Well, thanks again, man. It's been good to have you on the show.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. And remember, it's only an identity crisis if you choose to make it one. It's okay to not be okay. So speak up and talk to someone, or be the one that someone can turn to in their time of need. Don't forget to follow this podcast wherever you're listening. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, send me an email at jnewtzcomedy@gmail.com. I'm JNewtz, and I'll see you next time.